Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince, and of course, you're listening to the Mike Prince Show. But we got a spin and a twist and a turn and a topsy. We have a coach that's going to be debuting his talk show right here at the OpenMic Broadcast Network, and that is none other than Coach Kenneth Carter of the Delaware State Hornets. Coach, how you doing today, sir?
Good morning. Good morning.
Well, look, it is great to have you on board here at the OpenMic Broadcast Network. So we're going to first allow you to introduce yourself to some and present yourself to others and explain how you ended up at Delaware State.
Well, I ended up at Delaware State as a tremendous blessing. I was at Youngstown State University. Prior to that, I'll go back to the beginning. I'm from Camden, South Carolina. I'm a Citadel graduate, and that's where I started my coaching experience. I went from there as a graduate assistant to Furman University. Then I went back to the Citadel. Then from the Citadel to LSU. From LSU to the University of Pittsburgh. University of Pittsburgh to Penn State. Penn State to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt to University of Florida. We won the national championship my first year there. And then from there to University of Louisville, and from Louisville to Youngstown State, and Youngstown State to here. So it's been a lot of tremendous experiences, and I just feel extremely blessed, this being my first HBCU experience, to have the opportunity to serve here.
Now, with this being your first HBCU experience, and I try to ask this question to all of my coaches, one of your counterparts, Coach Mike London, I asked him, so I'll be remiss not to ask you, what has been the greatest surprise that you have experienced in the HBCU world compared to what you may have heard otherwise? You know, something that say, this is that, but when you actually get here, you realize it's a whole different world. What was that surprise for you?
Well, obviously, we all struggle with resources, and that's probably because the majority of the schools that I've been at have been Power 5 conference schools, and you know that's going to happen because when I was at the Citadel and Furman and Youngstown, I mean they have limited resources also, but it's a little bit different at this level. But the thing that really is most interesting to me is that when everybody gets together, whether it's our conference or somebody else in another conference, we all pretty much share the same things. And so it's always fun to kind of sit down and understand that when we walk this path and we think that we're so dismayed about the things that we have to overcome, we're not walking it alone. And so you have resources and you get to talk to other people that can kind of help you and guide your way through. Rod Broadway, for example, and Buddy Pugh in our conference have been great resources for me because they're guys that have, you know, they've been the same places that I've been, and they lend a hand to you and they give you guidance.
We're speaking with head football coach Ken Carter of the Delaware State Hornets of the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. Coach, you have had a pre-concept, what's the word I'm looking for, reputation, I should say, of being a builder. And this is no exception to the rule coming to Delaware State. What would prompt you to take a venture on like Delaware State, knowing what you were facing up against?
Because I wanted to be a head coach. I wanted to be a head coach, and I wanted to turn this program around. And I looked at it as an opportunity and a challenge. I didn't worry about all the other things. I knew it was going to be tough, but that's okay. That's okay. I mean, you want challenges in life, and if you're afraid to dive in with your head first, then you shouldn't really be in the profession, and definitely you should not want to be a head coach.
Now, a lot of things have changed. You've given your resume on how you spent time here, time there. It's almost written to do now that gone are the days of being in one place for 25, 30 years as a head coach, because the dynamics of the game has changed so much, and it's almost like we need instant improvement or instant gratification. With that being said, do you feel like that you're getting the proper time needed to turn this Delaware program around?
Well, when I took the job, Dr. Williams at dinner, he said to me, it's going to take you some time. So when the president of the university understands the dynamics of it all, and he was an athlete, he was a scholarship athlete at Appalachian State, so he ran track, and he understood the dynamics of it. He was a really good player, really good football player in high school. So it always helps when your university president has perspective. And then most of the people here, they had an understanding of what needed to be done. But we all know, especially the way sports are today, whether a team has no wins or has 10 wins the year before, you come in as a new coach, and everybody expects you to win. And ultimately, that's the goal in our profession. But I feel like it's taken us it's taken some time to get it right. We've recruited properly. Our kids have done a great job in the classroom. Our team GPA has been 2.9 the last 2 years, and so we're doing all the things the right way. And I think that they're going to continue to allow me the opportunity to get it right.
Well, that sounds like the echoes of your commissioner, Dr. Dennis Earl Thomas, when he said, it's more to just winning games, but you're making sure that you're grooming young men, in your case, to be productive citizens once they're done with their playing days. And the average at 2.9 GPA, being a student athlete, and I think a lot of people forget, they just see the athlete on the field, but these guys are responsible for 15, some cases 18 hours, and the rigorous requirement of being a Division I athlete. So that's got to speak. And I heard you saying about recruiting the right players, because sometimes people want to fill gaps in the sake of winning, that they'll get a guy who doesn't necessarily fit their program.
No doubt. And we try to. We're very, very deliberate in our vetting process in recruiting. We watch every single recruit that we offer as a complete staff. We have a system that we go through, and we sit down, and every man grades the prospect. And then we get the collective grades, and if the collective grades say that he's an offer, then we offer him. Because you can be biased if the guy is at your position, or if he's the guy that's in your area. So we feel like our system has been pretty spot on, and it's given us the opportunity to really get some good players. And then, you have to we make sure that we're in the homes, and we spend time, and we tell the parents, and we tell the young man what to expect and what's going on, and it's been great. We told our guys specifically this year, the culture is set academically. So now it's time to go win, because ultimately that's what the goal is. You're supposed to graduate number one, but you need to win games. So our guys understand that. They understand the pressure of that, and they embrace that. But it's part of what is the requirement for everybody every year when you start your season, is to win football games.
Now, Coach, are you at liberty to share what some of those requirements are as far as your system to determine if a guy is worthy enough to make an offer to?
It depends on the position. Depends on the position that they play. Obviously, if they're a lineman, we're going to look at size. We're going to look at flexibility, agility, strength, how long they've played at the position, where they played, and then what kind of character they have. We don't expect guys to be just all angels. When we know guys, quite frankly, the last two classes, we've gone after guys that we feel like have an edge to them. And they're not bad people, but it's a tough league, and we need guys that are mentally tough, that are physically tough, and you see it on film. And then when you go to them and you spend time with them in their home, that you know what kind of background they have. So that it's all encompassing. It can't just be what's on the field. And I think sometimes, and I actually learned this from Bill Belichick. One of the things that we sometimes in sports we get lulled to sleep by is athleticism. Because athleticism is flashy and it's great, but it doesn't always constitute that's the guy that's going to be ultimately dependable on when it's time to really make a play to get it done. And so we try to find guys that we feel like are very, very dependable, and we hope that they're going to be extremely athletic, but sometimes that pair doesn't go together. And so we spend a lot of time looking for dependable, tough, smart kids that want to go to school and want to win football games, and that's just something that's indelible in their spirit, that being a champion is a big part of what you need to do every day out of the classroom.
Well, it sounds like to me you're looking for some controlled nastiness.
No doubt. David Shaw at Stanford has it to a T, and they started a couple years ago, and their motto at Stanford is intellectual brutality.
There you go.
That is the essence of what you want to have in a student athlete.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I know that you can get it, but sometimes I want to get you to the point where I have to pull your chain just a little bit, but once I pull that chain, you got sense enough to know that that's enough. You got to bring it on in.
Absolutely.
All right. That's some good stuff. We're talking right now with Coach Ken Carter of the Delaware State Hornets, scheduled to start their season August 31st against an in-state rival, Delaware. Tell us how that game comes about, Coach, and what are some of your expectations here as you get your season kicked off?
This is a game that it really didn't. There's only 2 Division I schools in our state, and that's us in Delaware. And it's very unique because it's just that the state is so small, and we're only we're less than 50 miles apart. And so, but the 2 schools have not played, and the first time they actually played was in the 1AA playoffs many years ago. And so this will be, if I'm not mistaken, I believe only the 8th time that we will play. And we've not beaten them in all those times, but we feel very confident that we are ready going into this game, more ready than we probably have ever been. Just because of the season, and again, like I talk about the recruiting and the kind of players that we have, what we're doing system-wise, offense and defense, they have not had the years over the last couple of years that they've wanted to have, and obviously traditionally they've been very, very good. National championship under their belt, but we are excited about the game and the opportunity. Physically, we match up very well. We may be bigger. Our offensive line is going to average somewhere around 6'4", 330 pounds. We've got 3 really dynamic running backs that we think are special. Some really good receivers, and we're sitting in a good position on defense. I love our front. So they run the football, and we feel like we do a good job now going into this year of stopping the run, and it's going to be fun to watch our kids play.
Well, Delaware and Delaware State will do battle August 31st to start off the Hornets season for the 2017 campaign. Now, Coach, I know anytime that you deal with a winless season, there's not a lot of sleep. There are a bunch of sleepless nights, and you're trying to turn over. And remember talking with your players at the MEAC conference media day, it is all really about getting that first win. And it's once you get that first win underneath your belt, then that belief system kicks in. And I know it's mind over matter right now because when you're talking, you guys are the right state of mind right now as far as the practices have been going. The grades have lined up. That little nasty edge is there. And so it's going to start off August 31st. What has been, I guess, the most challenging part for you personally as a coach preparing through that winless season?
Well, it hasn't been difficult, and this is why. The reason is because the entire season we played 21 freshmen last year. So when you play that many freshmen, obviously you're going to have some ups and downs and some maturity things that are not going to work for you. But what we did every week is, even in the team meetings after the game, I would take clips from every game and show why. This is why we weren't successful. And then I would show them this is why we can be successful. And so really it comes down to the details of the game. We have what we call a plan to win, and the plan to win is very simple, and it's been passed down through many, many great coaches and people that I've worked for, and it's very simple. Play great defense is number one. And what we didn't do is we didn't create turnovers last year. We only had 5 turnovers, and we didn't stop the run. And then the next part is scoring in the red zone. We did an okay job with that, but we didn't do it enough, and we didn't stop people enough. And then not turning the ball over and getting turnovers. Like I said, we didn't get many turnovers, but we turned the ball over way too many times. We turned the ball over 12 times at the quarterback position last year in backed up in the red zone. So we gave people short fields. And then win the kicking game is the last part, and we did a solid job in the kicking game last year. So it was very clear. It was very clear why we didn't have success. And we talk all the time about measurables. Football is not about, and anything in life is not about rah-rah or let's go. Let's go is not a coaching directive. Everything is based on measurables. And when you deal with measurables, you know why and why not, why you have success and why you don't have success. So that's why it was easy for us to make the transition into a great summer, into a great preseason, and our kids understand what we need to do.
Speaking right now with Coach Ken Carter of the Delaware State Hornets, talking about the measurables of coaching. It's not about going to knock a wall down and running yourself silly, but be strategic in your attack, and you should be successful on the backside more times than none. Now, Coach, I've got to ask you this because I'm a defensive guy myself. I'm an old linebacker, and I believe that defense does win championships. What is your style of defense? If I'm not mistaken, a lot of guys now are running the 4-2-5. Is that what you're running with Delaware State?
We do multiple things. I would say our base is we're an odd front. We'll play 3 down, but what we have gravitated to is I felt like we needed to play more eagle tackle, and so what we'll do now is it's kind of a 4-2 type situation, but we have 3 down linemen, 4 linebackers, but we will take our 5 technique and kick our 5 technique down to a 3 technique, and then walk our outside linebacker up to give more of a 4-3 style look. We'll invert safeties into the box. We'll play some man. We'll play some zone. We pressure a lot. We'll pressure the back. We'll pressure formations. There's a multitude of things we do. We play a lot of different coverages and roll coverages. And the thing that excites me about what we do defensively is that this year will be the first time that our players will have the opportunity to play in the same defense for a second year with the same coordinator. So our first year we had a different coordinator who's actually at Colorado State now and did a great job, Jamie Bryant, and then Gerard Wiltshire is here now. And so our kids understand what the strengths and weaknesses are of the defense, and if people give us certain things, where the problems are and what they need to do to rally up and fix it if, in fact, the point of attack hits an area that may be not as strong.
So you're going to run more of a flex-type defense with some different twist and look, and some of those guys that are on the edge, I'm assuming, going to be on that defensive side of the ball.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Our kids really understand what we do, and we create a level of complexity for offenses, and it's going to be fun to watch them this year because they're not as young as they were. There was a time we were playing Missouri. We played Missouri last year, Pastor, and the defensive coordinator said to me, I was standing right by him, and he looked at me and he said, "Look on the field. There's 8 true freshmen on the field against Missouri." So we got all those guys back with great experience, and now we infuse some of the young guys that we have to give us depth, and so we're really excited to watch these guys play.
Man, that is amazing right there. It's going up against an SEC opponent, and you happen to bring up Missouri. That's my home state. I'm a St. Louis native. So that was one of the most successful things that they did all last year, right? But it was a rough year for Missouri. But when you get your guys and those freshmen come back, and you spoke about having the consistency of your defensive coordinator, how important is it to keep your staff intact when you're dealing and rebuilding a program?
I think it's very important. We did not lose one single coach after this past season. And usually when you have that kind of a season, something happens. But what we did do is that I switched offensive coordinators. So John Allen, who was the offensive coordinator and coached the quarterbacks, I made him. He just stayed the quarterback coach. And Vincent White, who was the running back coach and assistant head coach, became the offensive coordinator. And Vincent has been a head coach. He was a head coach at St. Mary's. I actually replaced Vincent when he was a running back coach at the University of Pittsburgh. I replaced him when he went to Arizona State. He's a Stanford grad. He played for Bill Walsh at Stanford. And, you know, the things that we do offensively, we're a combination of run and shoot and West Coast. So we run the heck out of the ball, but we can also throw the ball. There's a lot of motions. There's a lot of formations. I mean, it's fantastic. It's really fun, and our kids have really enjoyed what we're doing, and I think it's going to create a lot of drama for people. But the move gave us the opportunity to isolate the quarterback position, which we needed to do, and that's been very, very helpful for us. But again, back with the staff, you know, we didn't lose anybody because everybody believes in the plan.
Absolutely. Now, I'm interested to see, because one thing about being the head man in charge, you have to make some difficult changes sometimes. And how did that transition go when you tell your OC, hey, man, I love you, but we're going to have to make a change here. I need you to just focus on the quarterbacks, and we're going to let this guy take over the duties. Was that hard to accept at the beginning, or was it just, okay, Coach, I'm with it, and I'll roll over here to this spot? How did that transition?
It was hard. Well, I'm an Omega, and John's an Omega, and we've known each other for many, many years. We're friends, and I went to him the day after the last game because I wanted to give him the opportunity to make the decision that if he wanted to leave, he could. And if he wanted to stay, fine. And then I had a conversation with both guys together. And as long as you're transparent about the whole thing, which I was, and I explained to him, I believe in you as a quarterback coach. I just think we need to change what we're doing offensively. And so he embraced it. And of course, he's human. So there were bumps in the road, and there were some times, but we worked through it all. And he's an adult, and he's a professional, and they both are, and it has really turned into what I think is going to be a fantastic situation.
Well, that's one case where the shield helped a rough transition. You had to lean on the shield and say, look, bro, I love you, but both of us want to continue to eat, and we're going to have to make this change. And so he was accepting that, and that is a great thing to see, that everybody stays intact and on the same page. Now, when you get over to the defensive coordinator side, he's been with you now in his second year in this role, and everything seems to be intact right now. So it seems to be the rising of the Hornets, if you will, out in Delaware.
That's what we hope for. And you know, I tell you what. The great thing about recruiting, too, after a season like that, because we team recruit, and I'm heavily involved in recruiting, and I like to get out on the road with all my assistants as they go to do their home visits with the young people that we're trying to get to commit. And so I was able to spend a lot of one-on-one quality time with the defensive coordinator and the offensive coordinator during recruiting. So there's a lot that goes on as you're taking those. You're traversing the United States to go to the homes of these young people. There's a lot of football discussions and philosophical discussions and scheme and all that that happens during the recruiting season.
So it's a lot going on, and that's what a lot of people fail to realize. Number one, these are student athletes, and you got to believe that everyone out there is giving the best that they have within them. And when you take it on the task of rebuilding a program, and the buzzword is changing the culture of how things have been, that's a process. And it's not going to happen overnight. You got the backing of the president. You got a strong alumni that really supports, not only do they support emotionally with the rah-rah-rahs, but they support financially. You're real close to selling out all of your home games for the 2017 campaign. Am I correct?
That's correct. It's been fantastic. We have a couple of alumni that are football alumni that have been very, very good to our program, and so I take my hat off to those gentlemen all the time, and as we know, you don't always have people don't always have the resources to give you everything that they want, but there are more people than there are that don't, that give you what they can, and then they support.
Absolutely, and that goes a long way. And you know what else is the student athlete sees that, and that motivates them to work a little bit harder, not to let the quote unquote family down.
I totally agree. One thing that's happened that was very unique here, it's really somewhat of a perfect storm that's coming into play this year. For the first time in the history of Delaware State University, Mr. DSU was a football player, Kevin Perry. A student athlete has never been Mr. DSU, and you know how important that is at HBCUs.
Yes, sir.
For that to happen for us with Kevin, and just the bridge between the university and the general population of students is tremendous, because they got to see a side of the football team and the relationship that we had with Kevin and how we embraced Kevin, but then our players got to see how much Kevin was embraced by the student population, and then that showed our young guys that, hey, you can be a student athlete, but don't be a separatist. You should enjoy what happens in the university. You should become a part of the HBCU culture, because it's unique. There's nothing else like it in colleges all over the country. That the people that don't get a chance to experience the HBCU experience, man, I tell you, I wish everybody could, because it's fantastic. It's unique.
It is very unique, and it's something that can't be duplicated, and it's something that people need to embrace as part of their heritage and as part of who they are, and be proud of who you are, and know that you can make a difference, whether it's at an HBCU, a Power 5, PWI, whatever ID you want to give them. But when you talk about that HBCU experience, being an HBCU graduate myself of Prairie View A&M University, I know exactly what you mean, and the personal pride that is resurrected once you've had that taste in your mouth.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you, the funny thing that happened in preseason camp this year, you get the freshmen that come in, and they have no idea what's going on. And so one day I'm walking back from the training room, getting the post-practice information from the trainer to see if we had any injuries or anything like that. And I'm walking to my office, and between the training room and my office is the plot. And so I look at the plot, and there's a freshman walking straight across the plot with no idea, because all he's thinking about, I'm going to lunch. Bruh, you can't walk across the plot. You're not going. Just little things like that if it's not an HBCU, it's not a big deal.
Absolutely.
It was just really cool. And then we had a meeting about it that same night to address it, and you could just see the freshmen go, oh, okay, I get it.
The beauties. Now, what do they call the freshmen on the campus there at Delaware?
Oh, they just call them freshmen.
They call at Prairie View, they call them crabs. So I didn't know if they called them crabs or anything like that. But a freshman is a freshman is a freshman, no matter where he goes. We're speaking with Coach Ken Carter of the Delaware State Hornets from the MEAC Conference. Coach debuting his weekly talk show here at the OpenMic Broadcast Network. We're truly excited and glad they're going to be kicking off August 31st against Delaware. The two Division I programs in the whole state of Delaware. Who would have imagined that? And they'll be kicking up some dust here on August 31st. But then, Coach, you got that home opener, the season opener in the conference against Hampton. We'll talk about that next week, but I'm going to give you the closing words and thoughts for this week, Coach, as I turn it over to you right now.
Well, I am extremely excited for the opportunity for Delaware State University to be on the open mic and really spread our wings to a group of listeners that are not familiar with us. And so we look at every opportunity to spread the message at Delaware State University, because we feel like we're a global university, and diversity and going about our business in a professional manner to help the young people in this world achieve greatness. And so on behalf of Delaware State University and our president, Dr. Harry L. Williams, I look forward to the spending the quality time that I do with you every week.
Well, the same here. The feeling is very mutual, sir. Coach Ken Carter of the Delaware State Hornets. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. And as always, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.